This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance, deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale, and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Missouri. Guess what? Your favorite fine jewelry brand, Missouri, is hosting its biggest sale all year. From November 20th to 27th, take 20% off everything. Yes, everything. When you spend $150 or more in store and online. And you can unlock early access on November 13th when you head to Missouri.com and sign up for Missouri Plus, their free membership program with exclusive perks. Start building your wish list and make jewelry your thing.
Hey, Emma, carolers!
Oh, lovely! Now this I love.
This season, gift Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro and surround the ones you love with the sounds they love with studio-quality sound and intelligent active noise cancellation. Add the new Galaxy Z Flip 5 and let them control their music from the front cover with Flex Window. Shop these and more great gifts now at Samsung.com.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Coming up on this week's show, we have a rant about the WRU's handling of last weekend's fixtures. We have a chat to Aled Waters from Pembroke College, County Under-15s and Tenby RFC. We'll pick our teams for the Ospreys game coming up this weekend. And despite what I tell you earlier in the show, there are fixtures this weekend. They're just cup fixtures, not league fixtures, and I was only looking at the league rundown. So we'll have a quick rundown of all of the cup fixtures for this weekend. Joining us on the early part of this week's show are Martin's kids. So a big helping hand from them to help us make sense of everything. Big welcome to them. Let's get on with the show. So here we go again then with another Westerer is Besterer podcast. I've renamed it officially now. I've changed the logo and everything. Well, I've not changed the logo, I've changed the title of the podcast. So it's now officially Westerer is Besterer because I couldn't think of anything better. And other people were coming up with funky stuff and I couldn't get anything better. So I'm here with my main man Martin. How are we, Mart? How's things?
I'm good. Happy to be here again. How are you doing, Lee?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. So we were going to talk about the rugby last weekend. So, and then nothing happened. And I don't know about you, mate, but I was, we're 2 weeks. That would have been the second week into the local season, if you like, for the smaller clubs. And it gets called off. And I think the way it was handled, not only the fact that it was called off, but the way it was called off was just shambolic, was how I saw it. Well, what did you think of the way last weekend was handled?
Yeah, well, it's obviously an awkward one with everything that's happened. I mean, I can understand wanting to do a mark of respect and everything, but maybe what they done in the English Premiership, they called off the Friday games and pushed them to the Saturday. That would have been a fair one, but to knock everything on the head all across the board for over 18s, it just didn't make sense to me.
I know. I mean, for over 18s were not playing, but under 18s were. And you just think, well, why? What's the difference? Is there a different level of risk? And for me, I got really knocked with the way that WRU kind of handled it. With, we're waiting on government for government to tell us what to do, and then there was a post on the government website saying it's up to you. There's no expectation for you to cancel games. If you want to play games, that's fine. That's not a problem. And then for the WRU to be, that was out early in the morning, and then they're still dilly-dallying through the day, It's, what are we paying
It was about
for?
Friday mid-morning it came out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know I was waiting on the Scarlets and Dragons announcement, and they were just sitting on the fence. They were just, okay, time was ticking on. And when I saw that, which I thought, it's going to go ahead. Happy days. And then everything just gets cancelled. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Not even in the short term it makes sense.
No. And and the WRU are not there to pay homage to the royal family. The WRU's job is to look after the game of rugby in Wales, and yeah, some people may have wanted to pay their respects to the Queen. Crack on. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. There's a minute silence before the game or whatever, nobody was stopping that. But clubs have got, you take how much money the Scarlets would have shelled out for Friday night, expecting the Dragons to come down, and then nothing, and that's a whole load of income that we'd have planned on. That's all gone, but the outgoings still gone out.
Yeah. Obviously it's 24-hour. Well, it wasn't even 24-hour. It was 12-hour notice.
Yeah,
you've got to pay everything at that sort of cut off.
Yeah, and for me, it just the way it was handled was just, I think it's an example again of why we need a different way of managing the game in Wales.
Business people, not just club men, essentially.
Yeah.
We just had the beautiful sounds of a 2-year-old Daisy and a little bit of a 4-year-old Fia. So if any of you bought that, that's two of my kids.
and to be honest, I think they'd probably make a better job of it than the WRU would anyway, mate.
Yeah, some of the things they do is, there's a lot of logic goes into it.
Yeah. Well, for me, like we were saying about the WRU, I think we got too many people running the game who are more interested in how many letters they can get after their name and how many, who they can influence and who they can get an award off than they are actually looking after clubs who, some clubs are really, really struggling. They're struggling for players. They're struggling for supporters. They're struggling for money. They're fighting to survive. But it's okay because some guy in Cardiff wants to get an MBE, so he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna." Do you know what I mean? It really knocks me how out of touch with the reality of the outcome of their decision. These guys make a decision, and they're not in touch with the outcome of the reality of it for small clubs. But
it seems to be a lot of. I can't just say self-serving as in their own interest, but they focus on their club, and if it's good for their club, they don't care about the rest.
Yeah, and that's not what their job is. Their job is to serve everybody. So anyway, that's my rant over. That's my. I think a lot of clubs will be feeling it. I think a lot of clubs will be. I had a look at the fixture list, and I think that by pure chance, next weekend is a weekend off for minor league clubs. For some reason, Division 1 and the Premiership are playing. But no, I can't see any fixtures below that, so they might just bump them all a week. But I say, organisation and consideration is not the WRU's strong point at the minute. But there we go. I'm not going to do it, mate. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm not going to go have a rant because I've already had.
There's not enough hours in the day to go down that route.
the amount of earache I've had off the wife already with, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't care. And I'm just completely going off on one. But yeah,
I think my wife has got it down. She turns to me and says, "I've got no interest in what you're saying. I said, yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to respond, but you crack on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like shouting at the telly. Mine goes, they can't hear you, you know. So anyway, let's have a chat. My main thing this week was a bit of time on my hand. Actually, we recorded this, so I've been trying to have a chat with Aled Waters, who is by far and away the busiest rugby man in Pembrokeshire. And I recorded this on the afternoon of the 8th, so a couple of hours before everything went a little bit tits up. So yeah, let's have a listen to the interview I did with Aled. So Aled is the let me get this right now. So he's with County Under-15s. So he was a coach. He's now kind of director of rugby, kind of that role with County 15s. He's coach and head bod, if you like, with Pembrokeshire College, and he's assistant coach with Tenby RFC as well. So if anyone knows what's going on with the pathway and with local rugby in Pembrokeshire, it's going to be Aled. So let's have a listen to what Aled's got to say about stuff. Let's have a listen. Okay, so we're here today with probably one of the busiest men in Pembrokeshire rugby, Aled from the college, from County 15s and from Tenby. How are things going, Aled? How are things, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. No, you've nailed that to a T, really. I think I've got more clubs than Tiger Woods at the moment.
So I think that's the thing that people forget. Being a coach, most of us have been a coach of one club here or there. How on earth do you cope with 3, completely separate entities? How difficult is that to manage, mate?
It's tough. It is tough. Like being based here in the college, I've got like the college team playing the college leagues. We've got the Jewish Shield. So Narberth Rugby Club, with my job as a hub officer, that's my club I kind of look after. So I'll do different CPD events and go to junior training sessions. I've been with the Scarlets under 18s girls as a forwards coach. I'm now this year with Tenby seniors as well. So yeah, there's a fair few, and it is a struggle, but I think I'm slowly starting to get into the rhythm now.
See, I usually get my first warning off my wife around about kind of mid-September, where it goes, that's too much rugby. You need to leave it there, and I'm not even coaching anymore. So you must have that warning, constantly. That's too much. You need to go and do other things.
Yeah, I am getting that quite regular, to be honest. I'm the worst. So if we finish a session at 7:30, then I end up talking for half an hour. So say we have a coach's debrief, and then there's another half hour goes. I'm just getting, I don't know, text just saying dinner's ready or whatever else, and I'm like, oops.
So let's talk about County 15s first, then, mate, because I think loads of people, particularly players and supporters, will be aware of it. We'll have been through it in school when we were there. How was it changed? What's it like for the boys at the minute? What's the process going from playing in school to being selected for the 15s?
To be honest, it's changed quite a lot. Like I remember when I first started, there was the likes of myself, Shoosh, Steve Martin, Martin Rogers was involved. And yeah, it was really good training out the backfields by Prendergast School, I think just off the back end of Haverfordwest High. So now with the new staff that we got, the hub officers throughout Pembrokeshire, so there's myself. So I'm kind of, because I'm with the college on a Monday night, I've kind of gone as a head of rugby type role. And then Tom Meredith from Fishguard, he's taken the reins as a head coach. We've got Mike Jones from Haverfordwest High just in there now as a hub officer, just taking over from Chris Rumblow. So he's taken over for doing the backs and stuff. We've got Reece Fawcett, ex-Welsh International Under-20s, Scarlets, Dragons, and I can't think who else he's been with now. Scarlets, Dragons, Ospreys as well. You make me fat. And we've got Dan Fields come on board as well. So we've got a nice team around us. We've got Gethin Vogue is still involved from Preseli School. So he's in more of the background. And then when the 7 season comes out, he loves a bit of 7. So yeah, it's the way it's changed over the years is nice, and you can kind of see that bit of belonging. So we've got like an Instagram page set up, our Facebook page set up. The lights are going off in here, look. And yeah, and we've teamed up with Macron. So Macron kind of come in. They're doing our off-field kit. So Chris up in Macron, he's been outstanding with us, to be honest. And we've got new playing shirt this season. So fingers crossed, with all the good sponsors coming on board, it is looking good.
That's a massive. It's much more professional than, when I was playing. We literally had to nick a set of shirts from school, from whoever wasn't playing that week to kind of play, and training was something that kind of happened when enough people were available. So it's a really professional setup so far. So how, when did you start with this year's bunch of boys? When did you start selecting with those guys?
So obviously post-COVID, we've had two groups. We've had a lot of good players come through. So we've had Yori Badham signed the Scarlets Academy contract. He was with us straight after COVID. And Max Boswell, then second rower from down Pembroke, he's in the extended academy squad. Then we went on to the group that I went to watch with the Scarlet 16s West last night. We've got 16 boys in total in there. So once we got those two groups out the way, because they were not sounding like that, but because it was two short seasons, this season is our first season of a full dual shield. So we started back just before the schools finished, because then we'd still have contact with the PE teachers, the hub officers, who can liaise with the kids. So we started. It was, to be honest, it's probably one of the best ID sessions we've done. It's been long, it's been challenging, but it's been fair across the whole board. So our nominations come in, I want to say start to middle of July. So we were writing everything out. And to be fair, myself and Tom doing all the admin stuff. And it's surprising how much actually goes on behind the scenes. So we had 108 nominations, around that figure. Wow. Of boys coming in. Yes, some can make it, some couldn't because of holidays and vice versa. So that got cut down after a 6-week block. So we trained once a week for 6 weeks in Pembroke School, because that's where Reece Fawcett is currently as a hub officer. So we cut that down to, I think, roughly around the 50 to 60 mark, I think it was. And then, because what we've done with the last group, we carried too many people. Like we had a massive squad from the start, and we want everyone to have a fair shot as we can. So what we've kind of gone with this year is a bit of a smaller squad with the possibility of bringing boys in as the season goes. So yeah, we've done another four weeks of training out of Pembroke RFC this time, and we've managed to get the squad down to 35. So it's been tough. It's been grueling, but there's a lot of great talent around Pembrokeshire.
Sometimes we forget the kind of quality of players that we do produce in Pembrokeshire sometimes. That it is easy to forget those boys. Just to start with 100-odd players, that must be good for you as a coach. Yeah,
it is good because, you've got loads of numbers, and like any coach will agree with me here, the more numbers you have in a training session, the more flow you'll get in a training session and stuff like that. But then, what at the very start, if players don't get, that's not the end of the rugby pathway. Do you know what I mean? There's still loads of opportunities along the way for that player to maybe not at 15s, or maybe not just yet in 15s, but they might get maybe after Christmas. Or if nothing happens from there, they say come to college, they play in the college league. There's loads of different avenues. It's a bit like Spaghetti Junction in a way, where there's loads of different ways leading to one. And that's the key message I brought across from the very start is this might, some boys will be disappointed, but it's not the end for sure.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. I mean, boys, particularly at that age, they develop at different rates. You quite often see, and they usually end up at number 8 or second row, somebody that's had an early development spell and they're shaving at half time sort of a thing. And then, by the time you get to 17s or 18s, it's all kind of balanced out. but it's very easy for those youngsters to kind of go, oh, you know, because somebody's a bit bigger and all that kind of stuff, that you're going to miss out on stuff, or you're not as good as them. Whereas actually, you know, everything kind of levels out after a couple of years, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, cool. So what kind of season of the 15s got ahead now? Is it, you said we're back into a full Jewish Shield? How many matches is that, mate? When's the first game?
So our first game is the 7th of October, under lights at Tenby RFC. We are hosting Ceredigion. So a bit like with the last group we had, we're staying regionalised for the first few games. So there's us, Mynydd Mawr, Llanelli, Carmarthenshire as well, and Ceredigion. So we're up against Ceredigion first. And then we're looking to, well, we've got a bit of a break then. So one team will have a bye. So we'll probably, hopefully, if we can, and if we're able to, take the boys outside the Scarlets region, to hopefully experience, like, going to lights of Bridgend, maybe up the valleys or somewhere like that, so they can experience some well, like big boys. There is some big boys like you said.
But see, when I was with County, we played, who did we play? Pembroke Schools, and Burnell was coaching. So he's coached a senior team, and he was coach a senior team then. And we turned up, and there was like about 4 of us coaching, and 2 on one side of the pitch, 2 on the other, and we were literally doing hand signals across the pitch with so and so, right? And they turned up with 6 coaches. They were all mic'd up. There were 2 cameras, one at the far end of the pitch, one on the side of the pitch. And I think they had 3 physios. They had a massage. They brought their own massage table before, just in case it wasn't a massage table. And we were kind of sitting there. It was half an hour before kickoff, and we were going, okay, we're just waiting on one more because he's had a late day in school, like, you know. So yeah, it's sometimes when you're playing Pembrokeshire rugby, it does you good to go away and play some of these bigger sides, because it opens your eyes to it, doesn't it? And what's out there, like, you know.
Totally agree. And you don't have to go to the likes of Cardiff or Swansea or anywhere like that, or even up North Wales. All you got to do is kind of, even, especially like say the local teams on it, just go play in a game in Llanelli or something like that. As soon as you, like, say, cross that Pembrokeshire border, there's some big fellas around. But yes, it's a great challenge, and like you said, it's that mentality just to get out of Pembrokeshire, see the game from the other side. You know what I mean? Yeah,
cool. Well, we wish the boys all the best of the season, and we'll be staying in touch with the game and covering the games and all of the interesting bits, certainly. So once they've been through under 15s and they're amazing and all of that, then they obviously all come to you at the college. Is that how it works, mate?
Yeah, that is the idea. We do play in the College League, which is, in my opinion, one of the best leagues in Wales. Like, this is where a lot of Welsh internationals do kind of turn up from, whether that's Welsh internationals at 18 years old, or whether that's like future Welsh internationals. I remember when I was in college, the likes of Ryan Elias was in the same college as me. You had Josh Adams in the same college as me. And all these boys like playing like weekly against like the likes of Jared Evans from Cardiff. So that is the plan for the boys to test themselves by coming to college, studying college, and then also playing their rugby. And like this year, well, Philly, we had Lloyd Phillips in charge, and Lloyd's obviously gone off to Llandovery College now to work and to coach. So wish him all the best. But we've got Matt Jess is now on board with us. For the ones that don't know who Matt Jess is, he's an ex-Premiership winner with Exeter Chiefs. So yeah, Matt knows his stuff. It's been nice. It's his first week in with us this week, and just the amount of learning I'm taking from him is spot on, really.
I think that's always been the bit where Pembrokeshire players have kind of fallen down, where they'll go through the under 15s, and then there wasn't really that stepping stone up to, like, if you had a decent club support, you were probably in a better position, or if your mum and dad could get you up the line or something. So having the college there was, like you say, decent coaches. I mean, your facilities, apart from obviously having a home pitch, but you know, the facilities, the training facilities are really good, aren't they?
Yeah. Like we train on a Monday morning, so we use the likes of Harry Tudor down in Pembroke for the 3G. And then yesterday when we played our game, we played in Narberth. So we've got good links in Narberth, that being my hub club. And then when Lloyd was here, ex-Narberth player many years ago, we've got good relationships. So yeah, and it's like the nice thing is we do go out into the community. So we've used Tenby before, we've used Neyland before. So yeah, it's just showcasing, because obviously everyone that comes to college is all from around the county, and you're kind of playing around the county a bit like under 15s, really.
So what's the best away game then for county? Because it's for the college. How far away is a normal season going to take you then with a college?
Well, it varies, if I'm honest. So yesterday we were at home, and then I know we've got a bye week next week, but the following week we go up to Cardiff in the Vale. So they're based just near enough where the Cardiff City football stadium is. In November, I think it's my 5th year here, and it'll be the 4th time that I'm going up to North Wales. So we've got college Llandrillo away. So, yeah, but then it is a trek, but it's good for the boys because they've got to spend so much time on the bus together. But then every time I've been up there, we've played in Parc Iris, so they get to witness a great play. So yeah, we will be on a trip up there in November then.
See, and that's the one you want before Christmas, isn't it? That's it. You always want the away game, the big away game, like your last game just before Christmas, and you can have a bit of a fun session on the way back. So, what does with your college team then? You're obviously up against, like you say, you're playing against the likes of Cardiff, and you're competing for players at the minute, and with the likes of Coleg Cigar and some of the colleges further away. How difficult is that for you as a coach to kind of to encourage boys to come and stay and play local, and because we got the talent there, we got the raw talent, but when you start losing players, it becomes more difficult for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is tough. It's like when you've got the history of what Coleg Cigar have got. And Llandovery College, the players that they've kind of brought through their system, the players that have come from down here and gone up there, and like you said, with the facilities on site, it's a bit of a no-brainer for them. The travel time is quite a long time, really, unless you are quite lucky and pass your test in September. But that is the hardest part, is keeping the players.
But I think with what you've got in place now, with so the coaches, the systems that you're putting in place in there, and it is a slog because you have a turnover every year, don't you? It's not like you can build a team over the next 4 or 5 years, but certainly I think with what you've got there now, the next 3 or 4 seasons are going to be really good for the college. I think you will attract more. Certainly, that's got to be the aim, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just it is tough. You're going out there, and all you want, ideally, is the boys to do is put a good performance in. And that's not saying that by coming here, you won't be part of the Scarlets under 18s or anything, because you've had the players in the past, like Jack Delaney, Max Page. They've both come here. You've had Max Rodaloda, who's come down from Newcastle, who's now in as well. So you have had these players come through playing here weekly in the college league, and yes, they've moved on, but at the same time, they've been a part of the system here. So there's no reason why you cannot get into the Scarlets 18s. And we got like the likes of Yeston Wood now, Rowan Smith, who are, well, Yeston's already in the Scarlets 18s system, has been playing them, like the new boys who've been part of the under 16s West, going into under 17s. We've got quite a few of them here in college this year, which is good to see them hopefully progress now throughout the season.
And of course, when you're playing for the college, there's a chance of getting your mug on the box, isn't there? With Rugby Pawb, and is that the week when all the boys go for a haircut and they get their fake tans done? Is it?
Well, I spoke to one of the boys this morning because we have got a televised game, hopefully the end of September, and I spoke to him this morning because he's currently injured at the moment, but he should be back for that game, and he's already said I booked my haircut for the day before. So. So I think you've got himself out ready for that.
It amazed me watching Rugby Pawb through COVID, the amount of haircuts. I'd spend the first 10 minutes of the game just looking at the haircuts and going, seriously? And you couldn't do any better than that. Fingers crossed, we'll have a decent set of haircuts. At the very least, we'll have a decent set of haircuts for this year's season.
Definitely. Fingers crossed, anyway.
So when they've gone through college, so they come through you with under 15s, then you look after them till they're about 18, 19, and then they come to you at Tenby then after that, is it?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate this year to be, coaching with Tenby seniors now. So John Evans, my ex-teacher from school. So I went to Greenhill School before going to college. And it's, just the way he's kind of, we got Ozzy Boswell, Andy Barlow, and Russ on match days and in training as well. And we got the likes of Harry Bolton there as chairman doing a great job. But the way that John kind of said it to me was he wants homegrown talent who went to school playing for the local club. Bar say maybe a handful of boys, but near enough everyone in that team has either come through, the junior section in Tenby, or they've come through, from the local area. So, yeah, it's a great environment to be in, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. So hopefully now we have a good season in Div 2 and just see where it takes us.
And I think that's the way Pembrokeshire clubs are going to have to be now, with developing your own talent, bringing your own boys through, which it always used to be that kind of way, just because, transport links and this, that and the other. And then when everything became professional and there was a load of money floating around, with teams, not necessarily Tenby, but, teams were, buying players in and what have you. And we did lose that kind of local development. But I think now it's definitely one of those things where you have to develop your own players. You have to have a strong system of bringing people through. And as a coach, it must be good because they've been with a club. They're part of the club, aren't they?
And we've got some coaches as well in the first team that are giving back to the junior section, who are coaching the different ages within the rugby club. But then it kind of relates to me back to when we first started with the Jewish Shield back in July, that if they don't make it as a professional club, which everyone wants to, we still want to play rugby, and that is hopefully for their local clubs, because the last thing we want to see, especially in Pembrokeshire, is like first teams folding. We want to see as much talent coming through Pembrokeshire and represent us at the top level, but the grassroots is so important. It's all about keeping the area thriving, and especially with all the other clubs I've kind of been in, it's great to see that good thriving junior sections. Yeah,
so just still talking about kind of bringing players through. It must be that must be one of the good parts of the game. When you see somebody coming through from 15 and then you're working with them in a senior team and you're going do you know what, this is good. That's what coaching's about, really, isn't it? Yeah, and it's all about just seeing how far that player goes. From the 15, you see a young boy who wants to play rugby, wants to be the best he can. But then if he goes into that senior environment, which ain't at a high level, but just to see him still enjoying his rugby, goes out after a game with his mates on a Saturday, or if there's a bit of a social after a game on the bus, it's good to see kind of everyone is all buying into the same thing. And to me, that's what the rugby values are, really. You play as a team, you win, you lose as a team. And I think that's one of the key messages for me, especially when it comes to grassroots and part of that rugby pathway, into your just senior club more than anything. So first week of the season was a good one for Tenby. So what can we expect for the rest of the season at Tenby then, mate?
Good win. We had Mumbles on the weekend just gone, and we all said before the game we were expecting Mumbles to come down and be a top fighting team for hopefully promotion for them this year. Our scrum kind of stopped them in their tracks, really. We had several scrum penalties, and when it was time to score, we that last pass was very important for us, and we managed to get over the whitewash. They did score last play of the game to bring the score, and kick the goal to bring the score to 25-24. But it's about bouncing on now. We can't live in the past. You've got Carmarthen Athletic away Saturday. And as long as you have those 2 good training sessions within the week with the coach and staff, and then bounce into a Saturday, I think that's all we can ask for, really. Take each game as it comes. There's no, well, we're only in, what's it now? Today's the 8th of September, so there's no point looking too far down the line. We kind of just got to take week by week, really.
So when Mumbles kicked that last kick and they're back to like 1 point away, how many pairs of pants did you boys go through in those last couple of minutes where you're just like, oh, come on, ref, I'm sure it's time now, isn't it?
Fortunately, it was last play of the game. But we were up in their 22, and then we gave away a few penalties, which kind of rolled it down into our own 22. And yeah, to be fair to them, they executed a big overlap and scored in the corner. But we were all like kind of looking at the referee as soon as the kick was made. We were like, right, and then he blows up, and it's just that bit of sigh of relief, just thinking, right, we can breathe. We've stopped the big heavy team coming down to us, and yeah, it was a nice feeling.
And it builds a squad, doesn't it? It builds, when you, particularly those close games where you just edge it on either one way or the other. I find that those ones, they really kind of, it's a good game, a good celebration in the clubhouse after, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like, we've got a new bar now up on the field as well as the clubhouse in town. So we were opening, we did have a few beers after the game to celebrate and to open the bar. But yeah, you bring that group together, and I think everyone's excited now to get back to work, ready for Saturday.
Oh, fantastic! So, a couple of key questions to finish off now, mate. Now, don't worry about this, okay? Because all coaches that I've spoken to go, Lee, man, don't do this to me. Yeah, how much is a pint of beer in the bar?
I'm actually not too sure. I want to say I bought my first one on Saturday, so I want to say it's about £4. £4 a pint, I think.
There's going to be a time where coaches in Pembrokeshire go, I'm going to have to start buying beer for the boys just so I know how much a pint of beer costs when Lee asks me. Yeah. So I think the key question for everyone that visits Tenby is, how easy is it for you as a coach, if you're coming up the hill, how many goes does it take you to get round and into the car park? Or do you go up, turn round at the school and then come back the easy way?
I'd do the easy way just to save the embarrassment myself. Yes, if I would just go straight up the road, turn either in the hotel there or just after, and then by the school and come back down, instead of just saving the embarrassment. Because there is a bit of a lip as you go in, so the last thing you want is your car from the corner.
The very first training session I went to Tenby, somebody, I can't remember who it was a copper, I think, and he had this well-tidy BMW, and he tried to make that turn, and you could hear the scrape on the lip, because it was quite low set, and as it was going up. And I had my mum's like old Renault 11 or whatever. So, I'm not even going to try it. I'm not even going to, we're going to go up, we're going to turn. But at some point, somebody in Tenby will change the entrance to the club, and you've got everything then. You've got the whole package then, haven't you?
Yeah, no, it's a great setup there, to be fair. And like, it's a, might sound a bit biased, it's one of the best grounds in the county. It's nice and flat, it's wide, floodlit. You got a bar up there now with a nice balcony. To be fair, everyone in the club and the committee, they're doing a great job, like I say, behind the scenes. To be fair, Mumbles did come down thinking they were coming for a nice sunny day in Tenby, but it was quite miserable.
They had a proper Pembrokeshire welcome. My friend, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I wish you all the best for the season in all three teams. You'll probably have another couple of teams under your belt by the end of the season as well. But we'll catch up again at some point, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. All the best.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. Cheers, Bob.
So it's really good to hear from Aled. He's a really, really top guy. Does a lot of work for Pembrokeshire Rugby, and most of the kids that have been, pretty much anyone under a certain age in Pembrokeshire will know who Aled is, and all of their parents will know who Aled is. So, yeah, I think he's going to be one of those guys who's going to be around a long time, and he's going to be a big influence on Pembrokeshire rugby as a whole and a lot of Pembrokeshire players. So, yeah, big thanks to Alid, and good luck to all his teams through this season. So that brings us to the important part, the big game. This is there are various other games going on this weekend, I believe, apparently, but there is only one game as far as we're concerned. Scarlet Ospreys, Saturday night, 5 o'clock-ish, 5:30. What time's kickoff, Matt? Is it 5 or 5:30? Be television one, wouldn't it?
I think it's 5:15.
Yeah, it's a television one, isn't it? But then it's not on TV. It's not on terrestrial TV. It's biggest game.
It's on Premier Sports, and they like to have a full day of everyone following each other, don't they?
Yeah. So what do you make of having a potentially our biggest game of the season, certainly our biggest home game in terms of how many people are going to attend? What do you make of having that at the start of the season? Make good thing or bad thing?
I'm not a fan. I'm going to say bad thing, just because it is the biggest game. You want everyone on form. You want everyone fit. You want to be able to play your best game. And first game of the season, you're still knocking all the cobwebs and the rust off. Some internationals are not available, so it's a bit of a downer for me. I mean, the idea behind it, starting your season with your biggest derby, is brilliant, but in practice, I don't think it 100% works.
See, I'm the other side of the fence. I think it's a good thing just from a player's point of view to get, that first day of the season. You want it to be a big thing. Do you know what I mean? It kind of sets the tone.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good to have your first game of the season being a home game. It does give you a bit of a lift. And I think if we can start the season, particularly if we have a good game, if we have a good game and we put the Ospreys away the way we should, and it's a good open game and it's an interesting game to watch, it will generate, more support through the season rather than doing it, halfway through the season. Let's say it's the Boxing Day game, and by then you're halfway through the season, and then you get a bump in the crowd, and then you might pick up some more supporters for the rest of this year. So I think it's a bit of a gamble, and I know what you mean about, not having international players, but for once, I think that works in Scarlet's favour this time, because a lot of I don't think we're going to be missing too many players who went on the summer tour. I
think it's only Hardy and Elias that's going to be missing.
Yeah. So, and we saw with the English Premiership, if those players really want to play, they'll play. Do you know what I mean? I'd say probably Hardy is probably easier to make that step back, just because Elias he was right at the forefront of it, and if anyone needs to rest his body, it's going to be the Welsh front row. So it's but even without Hardy, we've still got a decent backup. Where I don't think the Ospreys do. I don't think they're there yet with the strength and depth that I think we've got.
No, it's they're halfbacks. I mean, Gareth Anscombe and Stephen Myler, they're main two at the minute. They have, obviously, Anscombe has played that much, and coming off the tour, I'm not sure if he's going to be playing, or at least not starting. And Myler isn't that top class player that he has been in the past. And if you move down into scrum half, then obviously Rhys Webb is the top talent. Personally, I think he should still be getting selected in Wales squads. Playing is a different thing, but he should be in and around that squad. But behind him, I don't really know of anybody. No one's actually stood out from what I've watched in the past. Whereas if you look at us, we've got three pretty top class scrum halves, really. Gareth Davis, Hardy, and Blacker. And even if we go further behind, our academy boys are pretty hot at the minute.
See, I think of all the positions, scrum half, I think Rhys Webb is overrated. I have done for when you analyse his game. When he passes, he picks the ball up, takes 2 steps back, takes a long swing, and 80% of his passes are behind the player. And I think he's an influence on the pitch. He's a bit like Alan Wynne-Jones is at the minute, who has been a great player in the past, but he's more of an influence on others at the minute than an actual player. Whereas I think for us, our similarity for that would be someone like Ken Owens, who's been around and been there for God knows how long, obviously out injured at the minute, but his influence on other players around him is probably more of an impact on the game than what he actually does, if you see what I mean. But
yeah, I get you. It's having that sort of, knowing that sort of player is with you, it builds you up, and it sort of raises the standard slightly.
Yeah. So let's talk about the team for Saturday then. So obviously this podcast will go out on Friday morning before they release the team. So personally, I think they should adjust it to Thursday just so we can record it on a Thursday night and then have a chat about it and we publish it on a Friday. But, that's just me being selfish. But so
it would be ideal. I mean, they do name the squad Thursday themselves because they have the captain on Friday morning. So, there's no reason why they can't tell us.
I think if we ask them nicely, we might be allowed, but yeah, I doubt it. So who you putting in the workroom, mate? Who have you got up front in your side on Saturday?
My front row, I've got Stefan Thomas, David Hughes, and Javan Sebastian.
See, I'm not a big. Is Sebastian going to be tied by, because he went on the Scotland tour, didn't he? But he didn't play. Or did he? I think he played. He came on.
I think he came off the bench once or twice, but he played in our first pre-season game, I think, and he was named on the bench for the postponed game.
Right. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that he's the main guy.
Yeah. See, I'm very much sat on the fence with Sebastian. I don't know if he's a prop for me. You either want someone who's an out and out animal at the set piece, and you can then almost forgive his work kind of in the loose, or you want an animal in the loose who's going to be rampaging and making breaks and this, that, and the other, and kind of copes with set piece. And I think Sebastian he sits halfway between the two. He's okay. He's pretty decent at both, but he's not outstanding at either. And that for me is, I don't know, I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I'm not seeing what other people see. But for me, if he's gonna make that step up, it needs to be this season. And he needs, because I think he's got a lot of pressure in our squad from, when you go down and you look at people like, Harry O'Connor will probably get a Welsh cap at some point. Will Griff John has had a cap. Kemsley Mathias, under 20s, is probably going to get capped at some point. Samson Lee, rock solid. Steph Thomas, Wyn Jones. We got a lot of really decent props. And I think he's going to struggle come the end of the season with, if he doesn't make that breakthrough, I think he'll go to Scotland. I think he'll go to a Scottish team and he'll just play in Scotland. And
yeah, I think he's going to go to Scotland regardless. I don't know if we still do the non-Welsh qualified quotas in the squads anymore, but being Scottish tied, and we do have pretty good relationship with them on player release, and as such, it is a bit of a hindrance having a player from another country that's an international in that respect, at least from one of the home nations or France or Italy.
So for me, obviously my first choice props would be Wyn Jones, but like we were saying, I'm not so sure that he's going to be there. But so I've gone for Steph Thomas as well. But then, see, I get confused with front rows and tight heads and loose heads, and who's, to me, they're all just the big boys up front that I used to hide behind when there was a fight. Cops were the ones I'd be hiding behind them and going, "Yeah, go on, boys, go on." So I can't remember who's tight and loose, to be honest. But for me, now bear with me on this one, right? The player that I want to see on the pitch, not necessarily the best player, but the player I want to see on the pitch is Will Griff-John. Purely because, right, like I say, bear with me. If you have a look at his photo on the Scarlet's website, that is a photo that needs to be seen in reality on the pitch. He's shaving his head, right? And he's got one of these like big long handlebar moustache things like that. So he's a bit like a great, and I wouldn't say this to his face. I'd call him sir to his face, obviously, but he's like a big fat 70s porn star that's lost his wig, you know. And so if you're gonna go with that look, I'm thinking that you must have a bit of confidence and
got to back it up, yeah.
But in all honesty, he's one of those players that, you know, again, same as Sebastian, needs to make a breakthrough. He came with such a big reputation, and he is a talented player, and he can scrummage, and he is good in the loose. We just haven't seen it, you know. And
no, he hasn't done anything really. He's only had a handful of games. It's a bit of a concern when you look at you're signing players to do a job, and then you're not seeing it, which is obviously unfortunate. And there are lots of reasons behind it. We can't just all just say, "Oh, he's not bothering." But yeah, he hasn't had his chance really to show what he can do in Scarlet's colours yet. So it would be good if he can step up and really show us why he was brought in.
Yeah, and that's, I think sometimes as a player you get to that point and you go, right, okay, I'm going to have this now, and I'm going to and I hope that this is the season and the game. I hope he gets that opportunity, and I hope he does go and show it, because he's got a bucket load of talent. He's undoubtedly a really, really talented player. I want to see it. I want to see the evidence, and we know it's there. And it's just one of those frustrating. It's a bit like Rob Evans, you know, last season, where we all knew how good Rob Evans was. We all knew what he can do with a ball in hand. We all knew what he could do in a scrum. And then it was injury after injury after injury, and you're just like, you know, it's frustrating for the player because they want to be on the pitch. And it's frustrating for a fan because you want to see them play, don't you? You want to see them do what they do. But
yeah, and when they're coming back from injury, there's always that over eagerness. Like I think I saw that a lot from Rob when he was coming off the bench the last few games of the season. He was giving away a penalty or two as soon as he was coming on, and that over eagerness, although it's good to see, it can go against you one times.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess. Fingers crossed. I think the front row battle, I think Ospreys aren't necessarily racked up with front row at the minute. So I think it's going to be an interesting. I think it's going to set the tone for the next 2 or 3 seasons. The battle up front. But there we go. So who did you say you had at hooker, mate? Who are you going for?
I had David Hughes.
See, I've gone Taylor Davis. And just again, there's a facial hair improvement this year. He's got a moustache as well that just kind of sets him aside from others. But I just think the way he was playing with the Dragons at the end of last year, there was a bit of fight about him. Do you know what I mean? There was a bit of determination. And again, when you look at who we've got at hooker, you know, Ken Owens, Dav Hughes, Ryan Elias, Sean Evans, Taylor Davis. None of those are slight players. Do you know what I mean? Any one of those will do a job on a Saturday, you know?
Yeah, they all have that bit of grit about them. They all like to get stuck in, and they will leave their heart on their sleeve. There will be nothing left of them when they're walking off that pitch. It's like, I agree with you. I rate Taylor Davis incredibly highly. I do think that the Dragons have downgraded with signing Bradley Roberts. I think Taylor Davis is on par with Elliot D, if not above him. I can't remember if I said that before. But just for the fact that Davies has been started the first preseason game, and he was down to start last week as well, I'm gonna stick with him because he's got a little bit more match fitness about him.
Okay. See, match fitness for me was never a thing. I was never match fit, so I never really knew what match fit meant. So who've you got second row then, mate? There's a
this is it might be controversial to some, but there is a plan in there. I think everyone can agree who our two best locks are, and that is Lousy and Fafita. But I'm gonna go for Tom Price and Fafita to start, just so we got Lousy on the bench to have that impact after 45, 50 minutes to bring his energy in.
So you're hoping that someone's going to sit there and wind up Big Sam for 45, 50 minutes, just like one of the little wind-up toys, and then just whoosh, then off you go and try not to get sent off, mate. I agree with you that the two best second rows, but then are they similar players? Do you know what I mean? They're both, having those two in loose play. If that game breaks up on Saturday and it's loose game and there's, you're getting forwards popping up outside centres, those two on their own are going to run away with the game. Yeah, it's going to be
and that having them both on the park for the last 30 minutes, I think, would hand nicely to that. Because that's when the players are going to be dropping off. And like we were just talking about the front row, I don't think the Ospreys replacement front row is going to be able to cope with our replacement front row. So we can't have that lighter lock come on.
See, but then we've got a lot of players in that second row who are, they're not necessarily, when we lost Jake Ball, when Jake left, it was, trying to replace him. I think we've struggled. I think that's why Fafita's come in to try and bring a bit of grunt. I think that was why Callum Afoni came in to replace that ball carrying second row, to have somebody that's going to give you 10 metres every time. And when you look beneath Sam and Vaya, there's nobody there. There's a lot of potential there, but there's nobody there that's really put their hand up and gone, right, this is my game,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that probably not for another 2-3 years, but I think that Jack Price and Morgan Jones are going to be our locks for, over the next decade, probably. And neither of them have that athletic build. They're both pretty chunky boys. So I would hope that they're going to be very similar to Jake Ball in that standard, where they have a lot of weight in the scrum and they hit rucks and they carry hard.
Yeah, and I think they brought in Griff Evans this year, who it's a big opportunity. You need those players coming through to say, right, here's an opportunity, on you go, take the opportunity to kind of give that emphasis for some of those players that might have been there a couple of years that are going, actually, I need to go up again now. Do you know what I mean? You need that competition. And I think second row is the one area of the pitch where we haven't recovered. We haven't recovered from Jake Ball, and we haven't recovered from Tad Byrne.
No, not at all.
When you had those two boys on the pitch, you had someone who was going to take the ball forward, make you the hard yards, be a bit of an enforcer. Anyone stepping out of line was getting a little tug on the ear and a little chat from Jake saying, I don't think that's an appropriate way to conduct yourself in the way that he used to. And then you had Tad Byrne just wrecking everything around the rest of the pitch. And I think, we built so much of our game back then on those two and the way those two played that it's really affected us. So I'm hoping, same as you, Fafita and Luisi, I think they're the players, they're the top two. I just want to see somebody come from underneath and go, right, okay, actually, guys, here's your pressure. here's something else. Here's a couple of extra boys. And, we have got Josh Helps in there, local boy, Narberth boy. So, fingers crossed he can be one of those. I see Josh very much like a Tad Byrne in that he's mobile around the park, but he just needs to kick on and show it this year. He really needs to put his hand up and show it. And everybody wants him to, because we know what he can do. And it's just, I guess a bit frustrating. Second was a bit frustrating at the minute, isn't it? This is just a bit, when you take away those top two.
Yeah, it's always been a difficult one, especially down west. We don't tend to produce that many giant locks in these parts, do we? So it is always a case of recruitment and development.
Well, fingers crossed some of those boys can come through this season. So back row. So on the website, Fafita's listed as back row, but I see him as in that Tad Byrne kind of mould where you're just sticking a back row into second row because you've got another second row that can hold a second row. So who have you got in the back row, mate? Who's your
back row? I'm putting all my faith in Dwayne, and I'm naming the same three: Blade, Lozana, and Callum Mahoney that he did for both pre-season games. And I think that's a probably bang on of what he's going to name for this weekend as well. See,
what you're saying there is like, I'm a stato and I know my stuff. that's what you're saying there. I've gone for Blade, Callum Mahoney, and Josh McLeod. And I think Lozana to come on again. You look at that back row. I know Tuipulotu's out at the minute. Dan Davis is just coming back from an injury, isn't he? Do we say Shingler's out for?
Yeah, Shingler's taking a bump as well. He's not out for long, apparently.
Yeah, but again, that's still our second line of back row are probably higher than most other people's. I'd say they're on a level with most people's first chunk of back row. Maybe not with Cardiff. I'd say Cardiff have got about 25 international back rows, but they're going to lose at least half of them through the season. But I just think we got real strength in depth in our back row, and adding the likes of
the only place I see us not quite having that depth is with Callum Mahoney at 8. I know Blade, Lozana, McLeod, they all can cover that position, but we don't have that out-and-out number 8 replacement yet. Like, obviously, you mentioned Carwyn Tuipulotu, and he is a great prospect, but that is all he is at the minute. He's a prospect. So,
and he's been out injured with a foot injury or something, but I think once there were a couple of signs from him when he was playing at the end of last season that you just saw, he's a bit, and he's still a young guy, in terms of number 8s. I think he's 21, I think. So,
no, I don't think. I think he's 20 some point this month. I think he's still only 19. I'll have to double check it. But he is really young.
And for someone that young to be competing at the level he was last year, like I say, there's a lot of potential there with him. But I definitely see him as the long-term kind of not replacement, but someone that can take some of the pressure off. If you're with me, So I've gone for Blade Thompson, Josh McLeod, and Callum Mahoney. I just love watching Josh. I could sit there and watch the guy all day, and he will just wreck people left, right, and centre. And I think that's, especially when it's the Ospreys. Watching the Ospreys getting wrecked at rucks and what have you it's a pleasure to behold. And he's another one of those players. We're absolutely stacked with open sides in Wales at the minute. But when he's on form, he's bang up there. He is the number 1-7 in Wales, including Tommy Reffel. He outperforms Tommy Reffel when he's on form. So if he can stay fit through this year, for me, he's a number 1-7 in Wales. But
yeah, well, he has had 2 opportunities to get capped. Been named twice in the side and got injured literally after the side being named, it must be so heartbreaking for the lad. They say third time's the charm.
Yeah, but I can see if he can regain his form, I think he's the key to the way we play the game. But
yeah, we need that Jackler. We need those turnovers coming back, and we saw a bit of it from Lozana against Bristol, but not to the level that McLeod does it or anyone has in the past for us.
Yeah, cool. So that's the workhorse boys up front. Now we'll have a look at the pretty boys in the backs then. So first pretty boy, I've gone for Gareth Davis just because I don't think you can, if he's available and fit, I don't think you cannot look at him. So who have you gone for scrum half, mate?
Yeah, I'm Gareth Davis as well. There's just too much dog about him. He is a nuisance. He's everywhere, and I think having him shooting up in the defensive line is invaluable, and his running lines, his support lines, they're better than Hardy's in my opinion. He is the way he follows through play and gets in the right positions. It is purely brilliant, and it helps out the team massively. Yeah.
And again, you look at who we've got there, like you were saying earlier, Archie Hughes, Dane Blacker, Kieran Hardy, Harry Williams as well. You know, that's a stack of scrum halves that can all do a job at a senior level. So I think I think Dane Blacker was the top try scoring scrum half in the URC last year. And he's probably our third choice. Realistically, he's Gareth Davis, Kieran Hardy, and then you've got Dane after that. So you've got your third choice scrum half topping the try scoring charts. That's insane stuff.
Can't go wrong with it,
No, exactly.
But
exactly.
I think Dane's going to face some serious competition this season with Archie and Harry. I think Archie is just above Harry in the pecking order at the minute, but I think both of them are going to be fighting with Dane for that third spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle and a half, and it's great to see, and it's a shame we can't put two of them on a pitch. But there we go. We might convert one of them to hooker. You never know. Stranger things have happened. So we were talking last week about outside half and our concerns. Well, not our concerns, but it just takes one of them to. Yeah. So who have you gone outside half for?
I'm going with Patchell.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think if he's fit.
We haven't seen much of Gareth Davis and Reece Patchell for years, and the one or two times we have seen them together since, they've been outstanding. And personally, I don't think there's anyone better than Patchell at running the game in Wales from 10 at a minute. So I'm putting my faith in with him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, mate. And I think if we can keep Patchell fit through the season, he's got that control, isn't he? Like you say, I don't know, every time he gets the ball, you just feel like something's happening. You just feeling like this is it. We're going somewhere when he's, with all due respect to Dan. Dan's a great kicking controller, and he's a great he'll put you in the right places, but you never feel like he's about to make a step and go. You never feel like there's a bit of a dummy kid. And Costello then probably the other way. He's just so much of a live wire. There's always something happening, and sometimes boys, let's just stick it 50 yards down the pitch and play from there, sort of a thing. And I think that's what Patchell gives us, is that level head control of the game that we need. So
yeah, I think Patchell's got a bit to prove within himself as well, being injured for so long, picking up a bit of form towards end of last season, going on the tour. I think he's going to want to really play out of his skin now for this season. He's had a 1-year contract extension, so it might be his final year with us. So I'd hope that he wants to try and leave with some of his best performances, if not a medal of some sort. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, well, he deserves it. So who have you got at centre, mate? So when you look at our centres, there's not actually, we've got a lot of utility backs that kind of fill in at centre. So, but out and out centres were not stacked in depth. So, who have you gone in the centres, mate?
This was quite difficult for me. I mean, I was always starting with Jonathan Davies at 13, just because the only other real option I saw myself was Joe Roberts, and he's injured. And I'm just fighting over my head, Scott Williams, Johnny Williams, who's starting, who's on the bench, who's starting, who's on the bench. So I've narrowed it down, and I finally gone for Scott to start and Johnny to come off the bench, just because he's that bit more of a physical type of centre. I think it'd be better to have him come on with some tired bodies around him.
And I had exactly the same as you. Just I've gone the other way. I've gone to start with him and batter them to start with, and then bring Scott on to kind of, when that game is breaking up, we can make the move from everywhere. The one person in the centres, well, he's listed as utility back, but Corey Baldwin, for me, I'd love to see him regain some of that form that he had a couple of years ago, before he went to Exeter. There was so much potential there, so much excitement. And it didn't happen for him at Exeter. It's not really happened since he came back. I just love to see him. I'd love to see him at 13. I agree with you, Joe Roberts, I think was superb, but I'd love to see Corey at 13 and just have a crack at it,
Yeah, I agree with you 100% for there. It's like he's only ever played on the wing for us, as far as I know. But he has played all of his, academy age grade rugby at 13. And obviously there needs to be some sort of progression planning in place, because, Foxy John Davis isn't going to last forever. So I think we've got 3 games towards the end of this first block. I think it's like Zebra, Connacht and Leinster. I might be wrong with that, but I think those 3 games might be an ideal time to just, here's the shirt, have a run. Let's see how you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So wings and fullbacks then? After they've finished doing their hair, once they've done their makeup and their hair and they've got their tans done, who are you putting at fullback?
Fullback, I'm sticking with Tom Rogers. I see him as the future. I know some people might put Johnny McNichol there, but Lee Halfpenny, he is coming back. He is going to be out starting fullback once he's fit. But for the future, it's going to be Tom Rogers in my eyes. So I fancy getting playing there as much as he can now. Okay.
See, I said because I've gone the other way around. I've got Combier on one wing, Rogers on the other, McNichol at 15. Just because I think McNichol gives us that bit of extra bite in attack. He can just see a gap, and I think maybe that's where Tom Rogers comes into it in the future. But yeah, for me, McNichol, Combier, and Rogers is the way forward. But
yeah, I'm exactly the same. I've got McNichol and Combier on the wings, so our back 3 choices are the same. We're just swapping Rogers and McNichol around.
My friend, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, and I think we'll sit and wait and see how accurate our team selections are. So yeah, fingers crossed for a good game, and we won't do predictions. We're not going to do predictions.
No, let's do a prediction. Come on.
Okay, we got 1 minute left on the recording. I'm going to go with 35-20 to Scarlets.
I'm going to go for the exact same scoreline we had the last time there were fans in the park for this match, 44-0.
So at that point in the recording, our availability ran out. Martin had to shoot, and we had to kind of knock it on the head. But it was good to have a chat with Martin, and he'll be back again next week. Maybe with the kids, maybe without, maybe with different kids, who knows? But we'll be back next week to have another chat about this weekend's games. So things we didn't have a chance to tell you about was our new Twitter feed, which is Scarlet Pems. So we used to have a Twitter account called Scarlet's Pems with an S, Scarlet's Pems. But I'm going to be honest here, guys, we forgot the login for it. And when we tried to reset it, we forgot the login for whatever email we used to set that one up. So we just set up a new one, and it's Scarlet Pems or Scarlet's Fans Pems. If you search for either of those two, you should be able to find us. So give us a like, because we're vain
and we like being liked. But on there, you'll find all of the stuff as well from the podcast and from the Facebook site, and all of that kind of stuff. It'll all be in there, and it gives us a chance to have a bit of a banter with some of our friends as well. So you may also want to have a look at our other Twitter site and our other podcast, which is the RAP podcast, Welsh Regional Rugby. A can stand for whatever you want, and P podcast. So that is WRRA podcast on Twitter. You'll find us there as well. And that's where we discuss more of the regional stuff. And this is where we discuss all of the local stuff that leads into the Scarlets. Okay, so if you want to get hold of us on the show, please do. You can email us on scarletspems. That's Scarlets with an S, scarletspems@gmail.com, or you can message us through our Facebook page, or you can message us on Twitter. And we'd be delighted to hear from you, and we'd be delighted to report on your local club and know what's going on. And if there's anything that you want us to have a shout about or talk about, then please do just let us know. So, just before we finish up today, guys, I'm going to run down all of the fixtures for this weekend. So if there's anything I miss on there, like I say, I've quickly put this together because I read completely the wrong list. I read the league list, not the cup list, and it's cup weekend. Apart from Narberth are playing home to Bargoed in the Championship this weekend, and everything else is in the cups. So the way they've done the cups again this year is in like small pools to start with. So and then it goes on to further cup competition. Okay, so the fixtures for this weekend are Crymych are playing at home to Glynneath in Group J of the Division 1 Cup. Pembroke are at home to Bryn Aman in Group K. Whitland are at home to Ammanford in Group L. In the Division 2 Cup, Milford are at home to Bridgend. Tenby are at home to Heywood in Group I. Milford are in Group H if you're interested. Fishguard are at home to Porthcawl in Group J. And then in the Division 3 Cup, we've got St David's away to Bryn Coch in Group G. Langham away to Abercrave in Group H. Pembroke Quins are away to Vardra in Group J. Neyland away to Carmarthen in Group K. Haverfordwest are at home against Aman United in Group L. St Clair's are away to Cwmgors in Group N. And Cardigan are at home to Llanderby in Group O. So like I say, hopefully, fingers crossed, Saturday night we'll be able to bring you a quick rundown of all of the scores, and they'll be there ready for you on Sunday morning, and you can wake up, have a cup of tea on a Sunday morning and get fully up to speed in all of your Pembrokeshire rugby. We'll be back with you next week, guys. I hope to speak to you again. Cheers. Bye. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters Pems team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet Pems, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.